Greetings in the Lord to you. Here's my vlog for the end of the day. Woke up to a post from Chad's wife, Alice Post? Alice Word. There we go. Anyway, she was like, if you're in Amarillo, you need to go by Harvest. Anyway, Christian Harvest. I forget the name of the church. But I called to greet the pastor, talk to the pastor that she had listed in the post. And he is away at a meeting or a conference somewhere. And talked to the church secretary, and she was real curious to how you're doing, Mr. and Mrs. Word. And they just love you there. I want to tell you, I heard several times how much they love you and they love your preaching. And I totally understand why, because I've heard it and I've seen it and I felt the Lord in it. But anyway, they came, the youth pastor called me back. She called me back first. And it was funny. They're like always curious, what do you want? And I'm like, I just want company. I just want to make some kingdom connections on the road and meet some of my family members in the Lord, and maybe spend some time in prayer and sharing what God's doing in our lives. And so then the youth pastor called me and said, you don't need anything? I'm like, just company. You know, I'm stuck here because of the weather, the rain, and I have two positions in the trailer, laying down and sitting up, and I'm tired of laying down and sitting up, so I'd like to get up and go do some things. He's like, are you sure you don't need anything at all? And I was like, well, maybe a trip to the hardware store. I could buy a little bit of weather stripping to finish the work that Brian did on my trailer. My door is facing the rain today, and though the brow works, there was a little bit of water coming in because it was just getting whooshed with water. And everything that he did to my trailer is awesome. All of it works. All of it's great. It all looks great. It's all so professionally done. Anyway, but they came by, picked me up. They said, well, we're going to go eat lunch. Would you like to go eat lunch with us? And of course, they wanted me to pick. And I'm like, I don't live here. Let's just go someplace really cheap because I don't have a whole lot of money. And they were like, dude, don't worry about it. We got you. And they took me to a Mexican restaurant. I had chilaquiles, con huevos y carne asada. And man, the lunch was great. The fellowship was great. Of course, I was the last one to finish because I talked a lot. If you know me, you know I talk a lot, and I talk about God and what He's done. And so anyway, we had a great time with the youth pastor and his assistant. We went by the hardware store, found some weather stripping. I needed like that. One side sticks and the other side's foamy, just to seal up my door a little bit better. And we got that, and then we went by the church, and I looked at their church. Their church is awesome. Like every part of the church looks really good, and they're still working on it. They're still finishing their basement. It was obviously like an older building, and I forget how long he said they had been there, but they had just they have some phenomenal artists in their church that did some murals in the kids department. I think I got some pictures of it. If not, I'm going to call and get pictures of it. Because, man, it was like, looked really nice. Any kid would be super happy to be there. They even had like one door in a hallway that was like a fake elevator door. It was really cool. Anyway, I don't know, man. Everybody always tries to give me food. I don't know if I look hungry, but I don't look like I'm starving, that's for sure. So anyway, I don't know. We hung out for a while, and then Caleb and Matt and I went two separate ways. I left with Matt Wesley, and we hung out, went and picked up his kids at school, and his kids were awesome. Really what I needed today was some of that kid love, man. Kids are awesome. We laid on the floor and played some games, some memory games where you flip over the card with the pictures and you try to match the pictures up. And his kids were just a lot of fun to be around. We came back by the trailer and we got my dog. And it was funny because just as we were getting ready to leave, there was a guy who looked a little bit scary to us, and he really wanted to know about my trailer, and it kind of made us nervous as we were leaving. He was like, are you sure you should leave your stuff here like that? And I was like, God got me this far. I very seriously doubt, I just prayed a quick, like, Lord, protect my stuff kind of prayer. And we got in the car and we went to go get his kids, and I already described all that. and picked up some clothes. Picked up some clothes in my little drink bottle, my towel bottle that I love so much, that Duncan Grigsby gave me. And let's see, what else did we do? We went by his house, went and picked up his kids, drove, we were in White Deer today, and went to his house, saw his house, and his father-in-law lives in a barn behind his house, which is like so not a barn. It was really nice. And I got a shower, Sophie got a bath. We hung out all day and, man, just talked about God all day long. It was one of those things where you really, I would pour out a little of experience about what God's done in my life, and then he would pour out a little, and we just swapped. He had lots of good stories about how God's working in his life, and we did a few videos for his youth group. I shared some testimony about my favorite day in Denver, and I don't know, I might have him send it to me somehow so I can share it with you, but really all you gotta do is ask. I'll tell you the story. It's my favorite day, probably one of my favorite days in ministry, because it was just like a surprise. My first time in Denver, still looking for the right job, and things didn't seem to be going right, and I was in that point where I was like, are you sure this is where you want me to be, God? And I had this experience on Valentine's Day where God was my Valentine, and he poured right through me into like 4 or 5 or 6 different people's lives all in one fell swoop. So anyway, but it was a cool video. I shared that testimony and a little bit about what I learned in that experience. And then we had to wait for his wife to get home. She didn't get off work until like 10 o'clock. She's a counselor. Her name is Lindsay. Pray for her. Not that there's anything wrong, but she seemed like a lady who knew the Lord and knows the Lord and is serving. And just pray that she always has the strength to do that. And so we hung out for even probably another hour and a half with her. And it was funny whenever she called after she got off work, and he was explaining to his wife that they had company. And I could hear her in the end of the conversation be like, okay, all right. And then she showed up and we talked and we got along great. And I don't know, they loaded me up with like I said, everybody tries to feed me. They loaded me up with cookies, and I had a cupcake over there with her, and they gave me 2 new bags of beef jerky to replace what Hound Dog stole from me. And I don't know, he and I loaded up in the car. We talked all the way back here to Amarillo, and stopped here in the parking lot, and we stopped at the store and refilled my gas can and refilled my drink container, and stopped here in the parking lot, got out, unloaded everything in the trailer, and I still don't know how to say bye. All I know is see you later. And my way of saying bye with anybody is to lay my hands on somebody and pray God's will into their life the best I know how. And we did that, and he prayed for me and I prayed for him. And just want to let y'all know that I had an awesome day. This trip has turned out to be more about the journey than the destination, even though I know the destination is even better, which kind of is allegorical to our time here on earth. Anyway, we can enjoy our life here as Christians, even though it's not a perfect world, and even though we're still not perfect people, but we're being perfected because we know there's something greater coming. I think Paul put it, this present suffering is nothing compared to the glory that is to come. But he prayed for me, I prayed for him. We said our goodbyes the best I know how, and I put Hound Dog in the trailers, fired up the generator. We're going to get in there and warm up a little bit, and probably spend a little time in Bible study. We spend a lot of time sharing testimonies and sharing what we know about God and through our relationships with God. But I'm going to spend a little time getting back in the Word today, and weather's not going to look much better for a little while, but I'll get there. Like I said, it's starting to look like this is more about the journey than the destination. even though I know the destination is going to be great. And I know the destination for your life is going to be great as well, as long as you seek the Lord in it. God bless you and have a good night.